The story begins with a man named Jing Hao. He is an older brother to a younger sister named Jing Tong who is 6 years old. They live alone in this rented house. Every day he had to take care of Jing Tong and take her to school. On that day, after dropping off his sister, Jing Hao went to a specialist who treated his sister's illness. It is said that Jing Tong, who was 6 years old, had an abnormality in her heart, so that the breath is often short of breath when the air pressure is low. Jing Tong's disease is a hereditary disease. It was when Jing Tong was little. Their mother was also hospitalized and later died of the same disease. Jing Hao, who was still in his teens at that time, had to become the backbone of the family and had to fight for Jing Tong, while his father prefers to leave them. The doctor said that Jing Tong's condition could get worse when she was 8 years old and above. Therefore the doctor advised Jing Hao to operate on his sister as soon as possible. In fact, Jing Hao really wanted to operate on his sister, but the money needed was certainly not small. Besides that, Jing Hao only works daily by opening a cell phone repair business, which doesn't earn much. Later that night, Jing Hao gets a call from his friend Zhiyong. Zhiyong works in a warehouse and the purpose of Zhiyong calling Jing Hao is to show him a mountain of piles of unused cell phones. According to Zhiyong, all the cell phones were left by an import-export businessman who is currently in prison because he owes a warehouse rent for 2 years. Zhiyong and the warehouse workers also confiscated the items and the plan was for the warehouse to be vacated soon. So Zhiyong offers Jing Hao to take all the phones for 100,000 yen. Zhiyong was sure that in Jing Hao's hands this phone could be repaired and resold, so that Jing Hao could make a profit from selling the phone. When he got home, Jing Hao immediately checked the quality test file of the cell phone, which on average did not pass the quality control. Jing Hao also tries to repair one of the phones. With years of experience repairing damaged cell phones, plus adequate equipment and skills, the phone managed to turn on again. Realizing he could justify the phones, he immediately made the decision to buy all of them. Jing Hao applied for a loan by pledging all the contents of his shop. The next morning, he went to the electronics sales center to offer his product, and while offering the product he calculated the profits. After calculating the estimated profit of 900,000 yen. The amount is very large and certainly more than enough to operate on his sister. He will also be able to improve his standard of living and improve his business later. But unfortunately, 2 weeks later the government actually issued a new trade policy, where later recycled cell phones are prohibited from being marketed. Cell phones that are already in circulation will be confiscated and the seller will be arrested. The policy was of course to the detriment of Jing Hao, who was just about to start his business. Jing Hao was only able to sell a few units, while other cell phone warehouses are still piling up. Jing Hao then decides to go to the headquarters of Shining Electronics, the cell phone manufacturer that Jing Hao bought. He met a manager named Lai Ping. Jing Hao offers Lai Ping to offer the market the spare parts of the cell phone that he recovered. Because according to Jing Hao there is a big market in the international market and this business will become an industrial chain. However, Lai Ping refused because he considered that the spare parts offered by Jing Hao, the mobile phone repairman, would not pass the quality control test. Jing Hao was adamant that the parts would pass the test. With a heavy heart, Lai Ping accepted Jing Hao's request. After that day after day he passed with hard work, starting from dissecting the largest to the smallest components. Of course it was not an easy thing, but with his hard work and persistence, he finally managed to complete all of that, complete with a guidebook that he made himself. Part quality tests were also carried out and as a result the parts made by Jing Hao passed the quality test. The first step was successfully completed. He then immediately went to meet Lai Ping, who happened to be welcoming the managing director of Shining Electronics named Mr. Zhao. Jing Hao notices that the parts have passed the test and recalls yesterday's agreement that if Jing Hao passes the test, Lai Ping will buy the parts. But Lai Ping said he never said that. He also tells Jing Hao to stop bothering him because Lai Ping doubts Jing Hao because he is still 20 years old. Not discouraged, Jing Hao waited for Mr. Zhao and offered the same proposal to Mr. Zhao and asked for 10 minutes to explain. Mr. Zhao, who was rushing to board the carriage, paid no heed to Jing Hao. Don't just give up. Jing Hao decided to catch the train on his motorbike. Luckily Jing Hao made it in time and again asked Mr. Zhao for 10 minutes. After listening to Jing Hao's presentation, Mr. Zhao says that Jing Hao won't be able to save all the parts of the phone. Jing Hao asked if he could do it, would Mr. Zhao buy it? Zhao agrees, but he will not give an advance. He had Jing Hao take care of the dismantling himself, and even Zhao wouldn't provide factories or workers if the parts failed the quality test. Zhao wouldn't give any funds either and didn't care how much Jing Hao would spend. Zhao then told Jing Hao to call Lai Ping when he was ready. Of course this agreement is very risky. If successful he will indeed be a millionaire. But if he fails he will be a loser. A few days later. Unable to pay off his debts, Jinghao had to let all his business premises be confiscated. The only motorbike had to be sold for extra money. Next he goes to meet his friend Ma Yue to get a side job. After pleading with Ma Yue, he allows Jinghao to work there as a window cleaner for a skyscraper. The next day, Jinghao and Liang went to find a place for their factory. And found a container that was dirty and dusty. Jinghao agreed to a rent of 3,000 yen for a month. Together with Liang, the two of them prepared the factory so that it could be used for work. Targets were made. The raw materials have also been moved to a new warehouse, and only one more, the workers. Because they can't afford a standard salary. The employment agency suggests looking for workers who have retired. He suggested several people. First there is Kanmoy. She used to work in an electronics factory. But due to an accident she can't hear well and she currently works odd jobs. In order to teach Kanmoy, Jinghao had to scream. The second is Zhang. He used to be a manager. But for beating someone he ended up in prison. Zhang had a rather strange nature. But patiently Jinghao was able to teach Zhang. Next there was a man named Hangzi. He spends his daily life playing games. But now he has repented and wants to find a job. Because he wanted to marry a woman. He also begs Jinghao to take his friend Cho. On the other hand, Liang also brought some residents of the nursing home who he said wanted to help Jinghao. Even though they are old but their work experience can be used. Long story short, the electronic components factory, which is named Nice View, will operate with these workers. As planned to help with the operation of his factory, Jinghao has to work during the day to earn extra money as a skyscraper glass cleaner. Meanwhile, Jing Tong's condition still hasn't improved and has to take the same medicine every day. All Jinghao could do was comfort his sister so she wouldn't be sad anymore. Then one afternoon, Jinghao and Liang came to a man who offered to sell Jinghao his cell phone, which later they could sell the metal from the components of the cell phone. Of course Jinghao refused because it was illegal. A few weeks later, Hangzi also married the woman he idolized. All the factory workers were there to celebrate his wedding. Even Jinghao is trusted to give a speech at the wedding. Coming back from the wedding party, Jinghao is instead kicked out of the rented house and has to pay his arrears for 3 months. Having nowhere to go that night, Jinghao had to ask Liang's wife for help so that Jing Tong could spend the night at their place. In the following days, Jinghao decides to take his sister to live in the factory. The bedroom was only made and insulated using a pile of cardboard boxes. This was the hardest ordeal for Jinghao to have to see his sick sister lying asleep in an inappropriate place. However, due to a very poor situation, he had to be willing to let his sister sleep in the factory. Seeing his younger sister condition, Jinghao didn't want to give up on the situation. Because the happiness he really wanted to achieve at this time was to see his sister recover from an illness. Therefore Jinghao tirelessly spent his time working and working. During the day he works as a glass cleaner and at night he is willing to stay up late to work on the missing production. Jinghao's suffering did not stop there. One day he had to be called by the owner of the factory because he was in arrears for 2 months of rent. Jinghao naturally asked for leniency since he was currently having a hard time. But the landlord doesn't care and asks Jinghao to pay off the arrears or leave. One day, in the middle of a storm and heavy rain, Jinghao tried to intercept Lai Ping's car. In the car, Jinghao begs Lai Ping to lend him 100,000 yen because he's really in trouble. But Lai Ping refused and said the reason Mr. Zhao made a contract with him was because Zhao had respect for Jinghao. But if Zhao sees you now, will he still pay his respects? Lai Ping said. Hearing this, Jinghao thought there was a point because in times of trouble like this he had to work on his own so that he could finish the job. Jinghao really didn't know what to do. He only remembers his promise to his mother before she died to take good care of Jing Tong. The next morning, again he had to see the roof where he put his cell phone collapse due to the rainstorm last night. Plus the landlord said that within 3 days Jinghao had to pack up his things because the factory would be rented out to someone else. Jinghao's heart was broken. He also has to give this bad news to all his friends even though 2 weeks from the delivery of goods will be made. But he could no longer pay their salaries. Unexpectedly, his friends were willing to pay their salaries after the work was finished. In addition, they said that they could take this work home and they could ask their friends to help meet the deadline. They told Jinghao not to face this problem alone, because after all they already considered Jinghao as part of the family. They then finished the work from their respective homes. Jinghao and Jing Tong temporarily live and work at the nursing home. One night, Jing Tong wakes up from her sleep and she thanks her brother for working so hard to take care of her. The day of delivery arrived. The components they have dismantled are finally sent for quality testing. Time passed and long story short, Jinghao and his friends were called to the Shining Electronics office to meet with Mr. Zhao. First of all, Mr. Zhao really appreciates Jinghao's hard work being able to complete the order on time. Then he said if their components pass the quality test with a quality level of 87%. Not only that, Mr. Zhou will also continue to work with Jinghao to make a 2-year contract with a project worth 5 million yen. The sacrifice that Jinghao had been missing for so long had finally paid off.